Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another thrift haul and I'm going to tell you what I got, what I paid for it, and how I fixed it up. So join me until the end so you can see how everything looks today, and I'll show you what it looks like before I painted it. This is a frame. That's it, just a plain old frame. Got it for $1. Went to a friend's house, she was getting rid of it. She said, "You want it for $1? Yeah, of course I do. It's a real sturdy frame. It's got some ornate look to it. I'll put a backing on there, put something in it. That's my dresser from the Turquoise Iris Journal entry. Do you get that magazine? I'm in it. Go get it. Here's another frame with a painting in it. It's a winter painting, so definitely not summer like we're having right now. But winter's coming, and then this frame is gonna get a really good paint job. This was $1.97. $1.97. I couldn't pass it up. The frame alone is worth $1.97, even if I didn't like that, but I do like it. They did a really good job painting those trees and that little barn. Can't wait to do that one. Let me know in the comments what color I should paint it. Here's another frame. This one was $3 at a garage sale. And it has no glass, it's just a hard board. I'm gonna paint over top of this and give it a new look. I got another stool. This one has fabric on the top, but it's pulled really tight. Really good construction on this one. It's just a little on the grody side. So, DIY paint, you can paint fabric. This one is going to get some DIY paint on the legs and on the fabric. We'll do something fun with it. Another bucket in pink. I'm not so sure that I like pink, but we'll see what I do with it. Right now I don't have any thoughts on this. Maybe you do. But it's a really, really nice bucket. I paid $1.97 for it. When I went to my girlfriend's house, she was getting rid of this. She said, "Do you want it? You can have it." Of course I do. It's crusty rusty. It's grody. I love it. So all I could see with it was like a cloche. Like put it in a flower pot and have something underneath the cloche, kind of like a fairy garden look to it. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think? This is mine. It's free. It's mine. I love it. Thank you, Barb. Here is a sweet little deer. Found him at the thrift store for 47 cents. He's got a chip in his ear. Poor little deer. He's got a chip in his ear. So what I'll do is I'll sand that down and then I'll give it a little bit of a top coat to make it shiny like the rest of them. But he's too sweet to do anything to besides just fix his little ear. This one, I love it. I love it when I find a good deal at the thrift store, don't you? And I thought this was a sweet oil lantern. And it still works. It's got the wick in it. This is sweet. It's got scallop on the edges. That metal is in really good condition. This has got some ornate look to it. And it was $1.97. $1.97 must have been on their gun. Marking everything $1.97. But this is just gonna get all scrubbed up and sold as is on my website. Found this, the thrift store. It's aqua. Who doesn't like aqua? Obviously me. Everywhere. Aqua, everywhere. And they're beachy. They were $1.57. They're really grody. They're disgusting, dirty. And there's 3 of them. They're gonna get cleaned up and sold as is. Next, I got 3 more items. 3 candlesticks. 2 in blue with some green on them and then a green one. This one I like because it's got a really good base on the top. These two have the pillar bases on them. They were all 47 cents. These will get a makeover, and I can't wait till you see them at the end. Another basket. You know I like baskets, but I'm picky about my baskets. This one's got a fun little handle on it, and it's good as is. I might white wax this one though. Should I white wax it? Let me know. And follow me to the end to see what I do with it. This is $2.97, and it's really sweet. One more item. Didn't have as big of a thrift haul this time, but it's still good. Then I found a book rack. These are permanent, but can't you just see a stack of books in here? Something on the top, and then a figurine over here or something, a vase, a plant, whatever. I suppose you could use it as a shelf, but that's an awful big gap in there. It was $1.97. Another one at $1.97. Go figure. I have some good plans for this. I just really like it as is. I suppose you could cut these feet off and make it a riser. That's an option too, to make this a riser. I heard that from my girlfriend. So I'd have to square these off and make it a riser. What would you do? I like it like this. So, thanks for following me. I appreciate all the comments. I really appreciate all the likes and the subscribes. Thank you for finding me, and I hope that you enjoy this one as much as you've enjoyed the last. I'll see you at the end. I added some feet onto this. I didn't show that process. I didn't film it. Not sure why. But these are half rounds that you can buy onto Amazon, and I just glued them on there to give it a little bit of height and some funness. So now I'm going to paint it. I'm going to paint it with DIY Prairie Gray. This color I love. It's what is going to be put on the shelf that I want to be the star of the show and not the shelf itself. So this color is a really pretty grayish brown. I want to give these candlesticks a nice base color that I'm going to seal it, and then the top color that I use won't, this blue won't come through, and I'll just be right down to this weathered wood. This color that I'm using now is weathered wood, which is a dark brown. I love this color. Gives a nice wood look. I put paper underneath the picture, and I slid it underneath on all the edges. So now when I go in with the DIY beadboard, I can paint right up to the picture and not have to worry about any painter's tape taking off some of the painting that someone had done, and it also doesn't get onto the painting. I'm painting this white in hopes that it's going to brighten up this picture. It doesn't have a whole lot of fun colors in it. It's kind of muted, kind of vintagey looking. So I'm gonna go beadboard and we're gonna see how that looks. For this fabric right here, you can paint right over the top. DIY paint, if you're new to DIY paint, can paint over top of fabric. And that little piece right there of the frame is like a burlap. paint right over it. Well, I didn't like the beadboard, so I went in with crinoline, which is a little yellower white, which matches the picture just a little bit more and ages it a bit. So I painted over the entire thing with crinoline. Here's the 3 blue jars on my patio table, giving it kind of a beachy look with the aqua chairs underneath the glass top and some seashells. These will be available on my website. The frame distressed nicely, going down to the beadboard and down to the wood frame. I like the combination. Now the frame gets a nice coat of Big Top. One thing you should do with your Big Top is pour it out onto an individual plate so that you don't contaminate the entire jar with your brush. So here I am just putting it on and sealing up the entire frame. And my paper is also still on there, protecting the picture. I'm going to add a little age to this frame, and I'm using the dark wax from DIY to do that. I just blot a little bit of it off on a piece of cardboard and then put it right onto the frame, concentrating on the edges where I want most of the dark wax to be. This adds like a dark age to it, so it's not quite so shiny clean. And then you just take a cloth and wipe it back. It stays in the edges mostly, but just ages that crinoline a bit. Now I remove the paper gently, making sure not to pull any of the painting away, and it is all finished. For the other picture frame, I'm making a simple chalkboard, and I'm using Little Black Dress in DIY and painting over top of just a piece of hardboard. I make sure that I go in straight lines. For the frame, I chose Water Lily, and I painted the entire thing in Water Lily. Its coverage, it probably would take 2 coats, but I decided to use a little bit of making powder to go with it. So I added that pink making powder and gave it just a kind of a nice pinkish hue in the center there. And all I did was I dipped my brush, my wet brush, right into the making powder and added it to the paint. The making powder is really fun to experiment with. If you think you'd like to try it, you can pick yours up at thepaintphotographer.com and I'll ship it right to your front door. If you're local to me, it is sold at Medford's Foreman's Farm Home. I sealed the chalkboard with Big Top, and then after it was completely dried, I took a piece of chalk and I laid it flat and went over the entire chalkboard with the chalk. Then I took a clean cloth and I wiped it back. That's called seasoning your chalkboard. You want to do that every time that you put something on it. Now I'm using the swoosh letters from IOD and I'm spelling out the word fall. So to use the swoosh letters, you want to put them all together, laying them right side down, and pick them up with your thin mount. Then remove every other letter. Then I used the typesetter font and I'm spelling out the word welcome. So I'm putting the letters up there on top. When I have them where I want them, I'm going to pick them up with a thin mount, and I'm going to make sure that I have my grid line across the top of the chalkboard. Then it will make sure your letters are lined up. Then when I flip it over, because of the grid lines, I can reline up the letters on the thin mount so that I make sure that they're straight as can be. I'm using the IOD liquid chalk in white. I have it on an ink pad, so I am just going to go ahead and put that on the welcome. You'll notice I did not have the E because I'm already using it. So I line that up as best I can, making sure that I have that grid line squared up with the top, and pull everything off except the E. That way your E will be in the exact same grid line as the first E was. You'll go ahead and re-ink that E and place it on the end. Now I'm back to the swoosh letters, and I took off every other one, in this case only the letter A. I did get a little bit of the chalk on my on my thin mount, so I wiped that off, pulled my chalkboard back, and put the F and the L onto the board. Now I'm going to peel off the F, leaving just the L, re-ink it, and put it on the end, lining up the handwritten font as best I can. I probably should have had that second swoosh lined up there a little bit differently, but it works. Next is the letter A. That one I'm going to ink up, and because I had lined them up before, it's got the perfect spacing. That's why you line up all the words and then you take out every other one, because you got the perfect spacing now to fit your A right into where you took it out of. Now, since this is a fall chalkboard, I used the new sunflower stamp. This sunflower stamp is gorgeous. It has so much detail in it. So I went ahead and used the sunflower that's a little bit tipped because it was a smaller scale. I inked that all up with the liquid chalk and placed it underneath the wording as best I could. These stamps come with a mask, and it's going to go over top of my sunflower image while I stamp up the ink on the stem part. And make sure that you don't move that. And I'm going to do a couple leaves while I'm at it, adding a little bit of character to the sunflower, leaving that mask on the entire time so that it doesn't go over top of the sunflower. A great thing to do with a wicker basket is to put some DIY white wax on it. The DIY wax is very soft, goes on very nice. You just put it on your brush and then wipe it over the basket. You can put it on as light as you want, as heavy as you want, whatever kind of look that you're going for. This is kind of a soft, beachy look, if you will. And then you take a cloth and you wipe some of that back. So now your basket looks like that versus that. I thought it would be fun to try a little Shipwreck Wax on there. This is a very pretty colored wax from DIY that it's got like a burgundy look to it, and it's called Shipwreck. I just put my brush in there, tap it off a bit, and then I think that it would look good right on the top. So I'm going to go in with this Shipwreck Wax on the top edge of this basket. And then I'm going to wipe it back. It's just very, very light, but it gives it a teensy bit of color without painting it. So you could use any of the making powders if you wanted a different color, mixed up with some clear wax. There we go. A fun little bit of color. All right, we're gonna paint this top of this stool. This is fabric. It's got a pattern on it. I painted the legs in weathered wood. Now we're gonna take the DIY Farm Fresh, and I added a little bit into a solo cup. Now we're gonna take some water and really dilute this down. Stir that up. DIY paint is highly pigmented, so you don't need much paint. I'm gonna make sure there's no chunks in there. Make sure it's all diluted down. I have a mister bottle also. So I'm gonna go ahead and mist this little stool, getting that fabric just a little bit wet. The key to painting fabric is making sure that you're dyeing it and not painting it. It takes several coats. I'm going to add a little white wax to the stool also. Right here, I have the candlesticks. They're all painted. I'm going to distress them. I have some baby wipes. These have been painted for a while, so it's gonna be a little bit tougher to take it off. The weathered wood that was under there, I sprayed it with some clear spray, so it's not gonna come off. You're not gonna see that limey green color come back through again. It's going to be the weathered wood that's gonna come back through. I had a vision for these to be really weathered, really distressy. So I'm kind of being rough with them. And they've been painted for a while. So the longer that you leave DIY painted, the harder it is to come off. But it does come off because it is water soluble. Can help it along like this. Let's get a mister bottle, mist it up. And it comes off a little bit better. So if you've let your paint sit too long and you're struggling to get it back off, that's what you can do. This Farm Fresh is so pretty. It's gonna make a really pretty fall color. I try to use as much as I can, especially if it's not white. When you're distressing white, it kind of bleeds back through onto your project. So white, you got to change your cloth more often. Colors, not so much. All right, this is looking exactly like I wanted. I'll do some more. I add white wax to the candle holders. It adds, I don't know, I'm a white wax junkie, so it adds a little bit of charm to them. These were big topped, so the white wax is not going to stick as well as if they had just been painted. See the difference? Okay, so I'm a golden rule junkie. I added some to this candlestick holder. This is the one with only the white wax, and this one has the golden rule on it. All right, who's a fan? Let me know in the comments if you think you want to be a golden rule fan. I think I am. I'll let you watch me put it on. So I put it on my brush and I just hit some edges. It could totally stay like that. Like it's not too much on there. Depends what look you're going for. Now I'm not doing the underside, so I got a little place to hang on to. There's the top. This is the most seen, so I'm gonna make sure I gold that all up. Then just taking back a small amount. Very gently wiped it. So it's very subtle. It's not overpowering at all, but it's there, like right there. See it? And it's got a nice shimmer to it. Put a pumpkin on top that's got a little gold shimmer too. Ooh, it's so good. Onto this metal tote. It is painted in sea glass, and I wanted to add a fun stencil and transfer to it. I seen Melissa Morrow do that on her YouTube channel, and I just loved it. It's a fun look. I took a dry paintbrush in beadboard and a really huge stencil. I have no idea where I got it from. It's very old. And I stenciled pretty sporadically around each side of the tin bucket. Melissa is from Rave Home Staging and Vintage Bead Designs. She has a YouTube channel. I really like to watch her YouTube videos. So if you want another one to subscribe to, please head on over there and check hers out. I painted the handle in weathered wood. to give it a bit of a contrast. But here's the trick that Melissa did, is she had it painted, stenciled, and then put transfer over the top. This is Painterly Floral Transfer from IOD, and I kept the entire process in so that you could see the layering effect of this transfer. So right over top of the stencil. I just love this look with the transfer over the stencil. So go ahead and check out Melissa's YouTube video. She has one that she also did this process too, and you'll fall in love. I'm going to show you how I envisioned this bookshelf to be staged. So there it is, all stenciled up. It's just got a cute design on it, very cottagecore. So that's my backdrop. I'm taking photos. I have a white backdrop. I have a wood table my dad made. Has a little handle on it. The legs fold up. Works perfectly. I am underneath my porch. So I have some pretty good sunlight. We're gonna stage this up. So it's a bookshelf. So I envision books on here, right? So I have a couple old books. The Bobbsey Twins at Cedar Camp, The Lion and the Mouse. So one blue, one green. I just like them. Another blue one, good binding. It's nice and aged. So I'm gonna stick that there, 2 books piled on top there. Then it's fall. So you gotta start thinking fall, right? I try and stage with items that I thrifted. So I'm gonna put one of the candlesticks there. And I really like this little deer. So I'm gonna stick him right there. Then I have a basket full of pumpkins here. I have some in Farm Fresh. That would go right on top of there. Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh. This is Prairie Gray. It's a little blue and green. Works good. Then I have just some little sunflower sprigs. And you can stick them wherever, just to bring that little bit of fall in there. And we're gonna put one right on there. This book. All right, we're gonna move it over just a touch. So we have empty space right here. It looks good, but we have a matching candle holder. that fits right there. And see, they go together. So that works good for me. Then I have another farm fresh pumpkin, and he can sit right there. There you go. That's a little bit of staging, and it's on feet, which makes it just a bit more interesting. And the sunflowers add that little thrift haul for the week. And I hope you enjoyed all of the projects that I made over. Leave a note in the comments as to which one is your favorite. If you want any of the DIY or IOD products, you can visit my website at thepaintingphotographer.com. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy painting.